We all know the standard answer, right? If you ask someone why they're pulling a 70-hour week, why they grab their phone before they're even out of bed.
Oh, yeah, they've got it ready. A sensible defense.
Exactly. They talked about bills, the cost of everything. All these good, wise reasons for this relentless pace. It sounds completely logical, just basic survival.
But, the material we looked at suggests that story. It's just too neat, way too tidy. We get the money side, the ledger, sure. But that often works like a filter, doesn't it?
A filter. How so?
Well, we use that idea of necessity, the concrete stuff, the bills, the deadlines, to basically avoid looking at the deeper psychological reasons driving us. It's a really clever way to keep moving without asking why.
Got it. So our goal today is to kind of push past the budget spreadsheet, dive into the psyche, because the core idea here, it's kind of shocking when you frame it like this. Is that the main reason for all this intense, endless work? It isn't just about external demands. We work like crazy because fundamentally we're terrified of stillness, just absolute terror.
That's it. And what's really interesting is how hard work becomes this emotional shield. It's maybe the most respectable distraction there is.
Respectable, yes. Society loves it.
Totally applauds it. It seems virtuous, right?
Yeah.
And because everyone praises it, it gives you a pass from dealing with a really uncomfortable thing. This deep dread of just sitting alone with your own thoughts.
Okay, that distinction is key, isn't it? Respectable distraction versus actual necessity. Because when we talk about this terror of stillness,
right,
we're talking about that subconscious fear, right? Fear of what pops up when things get quiet.
Exactly.
Think about it, that urge. The second the house is silent, what do?
Reach for the phone. Turn something on. Find a task. Anything.
Right. We're actively curating noise from the outside world to achieve one goal. Just drown out the whispers from inside.
Yeah. Productivity becomes this weapon against looking inward. If you're busy, you're safe. You fought off the chance of actually figuring yourself out.
And this isn't new, you're saying, this mechanism?
Oh, not at all. The material really emphasizes how deep this conditioning goes.
How deep? Where does it come from? Is it something we inherit?
It's complicated, layered, but yeah, there's definitely a generational thing. We were essentially, schooled very early on in being terrified of not doing things.
At school.
Yeah, we learned fast, value equals output. We're conditioned by, the systems around us, our history, to believe that stopping is risky. You might become obsolete. Or worse. Worse, you might have to face what you're actually feeling. And this conditioning is so strong, we often feel too, intellectually or emotionally young, maybe. Too conditioned to really question the elders or the whole setup that demands this constant motion.
So you just accept it.
You assume the system knows best, and that stillness must be the real danger.
So the system gives us the structure, and our own internal dread fuels the engine. They feed each other perfectly.
Precisely. The system basically rewards panic, as long as you call it hustle.
Which takes us right into the next bit. How this hard work completely shapes our sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
If we stop doing, it feels like we stop being. We've built our whole identity, our value, around what we produce, what we can measure.
It seems totally inconceivable to a lot of people that we might have worth beyond what we accomplish, beyond the paycheck or the checklist.
And that inability to separate me from my achievements, that must create problems in relationships, right?
Oh, huge barriers. If your value is all about output, then you can't really let anyone get too close, can you? Not outside of your achievements anyway.
Because what happens if you fail? If the project tanks?
Exactly. So you keep performing. It keeps people at a distance, which ironically feels safer than being vulnerable and truly known.
And this fear of stillness,
Yeah.
You called it the tyranny of utility, it makes us almost hostile to anything without a clear point or goal.
Yeah, that tyranny of utility idea is spot on. It manifests as this sort of contempt, almost.
Contempt. Okay, but what does that actually look like?
Yeah.
Day to day.
It's when someone says, why bother doing that if it doesn't make money? Or, is that useful? If an activity doesn't lead to a result, a transaction, something measurable, we feel guilty, like we're wasting time.
Right.
Our minds just reject things that simply are. Because there's no obvious ROI, no return on investment.
Which is why the example of reading poetry is so perfect and weirdly specific.
It really is.
Why can't we just sit and read a poem? What's the big deal?
Because poetry or, any kind of really contemplative thing, It threatens to make us feel something unexpected.
Hmm.
It's messy, it's not linear, it doesn't have a neat goal at the end. It just asks you to engage with words, with feelings. And we hate anything without a map, a charted purpose, because maps feel controllable.
And poems don't have maps.
No. A poem asks you to be quiet, a bit defenseless, open to whatever happens emotionally. And like we said, our minds are terrified of that kind of collision.
So we stick to the brightly lit path. The structure office, the project plan, the task list. Because it's predictable.
Absolutely. And this isn't just about poems, obviously. It's about avoiding reality when it's messy and undefined. That's why we resist getting acquainted with the night, you could say.
The night.
Metaphorically, yeah.
Right.
The dark, unlit spaces in our own minds. We choose the screen's glare over the quiet darkness of just thinking every single time. The glare says, I'm useful. The darkness just says, I exist, and we're deeply uncomfortable with that.
Okay, so we've got the external avoidance, the job, the schedule, the no poetry rule. But if work is the shield on the outside, what's the internal emergency we're running from? What's the actual emotional fuel here?
The material is pretty direct about this. It says we are basically in flight, running from untenable sadness and deep, deep regret.
Okay, unpack untenable for me. Does that mean sadness we literally can't handle, or sadness we just refuse to deal with?
It suggests the second one leads to the first. It's sadness that feels like if you let it surface, it would just overwhelm everything, sink the ship, you know.
Right.
So the effort needed to keep it pushed down, that demands constant motion. And regret especially, that needs stillness to be processed, to be integrated. If you stay busy enough, you never have to really face the consequences of past choices or unmet needs in relationships.
Which ties back to what you said earlier about relational deficits. Why run so fast? Why crave external validation so much?
Because getting ahead at work becomes the perfect substitute for real intimacy.
Ah, a substitute.
Yeah. If you're achieving, you feel valuable. And if you feel valuable, maybe you don't have to face the profound loneliness that often comes from not having many or maybe, any real friends who see beyond the job title.
So we're trying to fill that relationship gap with professional success.
Exactly. But it's like trying to eat soup with a fork, like the saying goes. It just doesn't work. It can't satisfy that need.
It's actually really poignant when you think about the basic human need this is replacing. The material suggests, that maybe very few people in our lives ever just held us quietly without expecting something, without needing a performance.
That's the core of the tragedy, isn't it? We internalize this idea that all attention, all affection, it's conditional.
So stillness feels dangerous, like you'll lose approval.
Right. Stillness equals vulnerability. Performance equals safety. So the running isn't just about getting things done. It's the only way we learn to soothe ourselves. We run because we literally have no idea what else to do with ourselves. No internal map for just being.
And when we're forced to stop.
That deep, unmet need to just be with someone, or even just with ourselves, without an agenda, it surfaces. And we panic.
Which leads us to this really devastating paradox at the end of all this, after all the running, all the striving. We actually find peace much harder than war.
It's the ultimate outcome of this whole avoidance thing. Work, right. It has battles, targets, deadlines, enemies even sometimes. It gives you structure. It feels familiar. It has rules.
Yeah, you know what to do in a war, sort of.
Exactly. But peace requires quiet. It demands vulnerability with no defenses up. It's internal, there are no rules, and it's terrifying because it forces you to confront the very sadness, the very gaps we've spent years building defenses against.
And the biggest fear is you don't know what it will cost if you actually stop. If you let yourself ask those really uncomfortable questions.
Like, is this really the life I want? Did I even choose this?
Yeah. If you start down that road, you have no idea where it might lead, or what parts of your current life, your identity, you might have to let go of.
And that's the anchor. That's what keeps us tied to the grind. The unknown cost of really looking at ourselves, dismantling a life built on running away, feels more dangerous than the familiar stress of just keeping busy.
We stick with the devil we know.
The devil of the daily grind, rather than the maybe terrifying angel of self-awareness.
So the final conclusion here is pretty stark. We work so incredibly hard, not just for the paycheck or ambition.
Those are real factors.
Right, but maybe the deepest reason is we're avoiding a brutal truth. That the real work, the work of knowing ourselves, processing our emotions, building genuine connections, that work lies somewhere else entirely.
And we're terrified to even start it.
It completely reframes productivity, doesn't it?
It does. The practical reasons for work are valid, absolutely. But the deep engines driving that relentless pace, often it's psychological dread, fear of our own messy insides, just sheer terror of sitting alone with ourselves. It's the difference between working to live and, well, working to hide.
So the final thought for everyone listening, if peace really is harder than war for us, what's the first, maybe tiny act of stillness you could risk today?
Yeah. What's the real work, that emotional work, that reflective work, that all your respectable busyness is actually stopping you from beginning?
That's the challenge, isn't it? The goal isn't necessarily to just stop working.
No, not at all. It's about getting really honest, maybe surgically precise, and figuring out where the genuine necessity ends.
And where the panic begins.
Yeah.
Find the panic, find that edge.
And maybe that's the doorway to stillness. That's something to carry forward.